Hello and welcome back to the Double A NBA podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Hammond.
And I'm Aditya.
And today is the first episode since the NBA playoffs have been back in action.
Yeah.
But first,
They've been pretty entertaining.
They've been great. But first, we need to look at the Coach of the Year winner, Nick Nurse.
He deserved it.
He deserved it.
Sorry if you guys are hearing background noise from my side. I'm in my dorm, so it's kind of there's stuff going on in the
Aditya
back.
moved into his dorm yesterday, so
I keep seeing like little spikes on the thing. So
I think
I don't know what it is, but
I think you're fine. If any of our fans get mad, then it's whatever.
I'm finding our like 12 listeners.
Yeah. So Nick Nurse won Coach of the Year. What was the Coach of the Year list we saw the other day? That I think it was was it like the two finalists or something, and somebody really notable was left out? I can't really remember what it was, but it was not good.
I can't remember. I think Bud wasn't in it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But no, Nick Nurse deserved it. I mean, this Raptors team severely overperformed. So I mean, because they have a. I mean, obviously the season didn't last as long, but did they have a better record than they did last year? Would they have finished with a better record?
A better winning percentage, I believe.
Okay, that's what it is.
I think they won 58 games last year, because I think they set the franchise record in 2017-18.
Mm-hmm.
I think they went 59-23, and then I think they went 58-24, 57-25 last year, and then this year they were 53-20, I believe. So I think they had a slightly better winning percentage.
Well, I mean, they lost Kawhi and still performed well. So I think one of the other finalists was Billy Donovan. He also earned it, but Nick Nurse, had a better record and all that stuff.
There's kind of an underrated narrative for Billy Donovan this year, because people don't remember he was kind of coaching for his job going into the year. There were a lot of rumors about him getting fired and taking a college job again. If anybody out there doesn't know Billy Donovan's background, he won the 2006 and 2007 national championships at Florida. Those teams with Joakim Noah and Al Horford are probably the two most notable players. So that's kind of what got him an NBA job. And there have been rumors pretty much every time the Thunder get knocked out in 5 or 6 in the first round these last couple of years, it's been Billy Donovan's head on a totem pole.
I think it was especially just the last 2 years, because they had Paul George and Russ and weren't able to do anything.
Not a totem pole, just a pole. Yeah.
This season it was just Russ. I think it was a little more understandable, but the last 2 seasons they were expected to, at least to beat the Jazz.
Well, they had 2 top 15 players that season. Those 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And
the season where they brought in Melo and weren't able to do anything.
Yeah, they got, what was that? They lost in 6. That was the playoff P year, the crowning of playoff P. And then last year when Damian Lillard walked off the series in Game 5.
Yeah.
When everybody was I remember that pretty vividly. Everybody was like, dude, the Thunder are going to fucking wash Portland. It's going to be 5 games. And I was like, I don't know. And then I was right. So, basically, whatever. But the only reason people thought that is because Portland had gotten swept the year before, which I can understand.
And Nurkic went down. But yeah, no, Nick Nurse deserves it. I mean, if anyone debates that, then I don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Plus, they're about to sweep the Nets.
Yeah, I could. Which it's looking like they're going to be the only top 3 seed in either division to get a sweep. I mean, Boston's also on pace.
Celtics are about to sweep. The Heat will probably sweep. Out west, though, is there any team that's gonna sweep?
Let's save that.
Okay.
Because we got some.
We'll save that.
We're gonna talk lottery now. So the NBA draft lottery was held on Thursday, and woo doggy, we got some good results, some juicy results. So, do you want to go down 14-1 in that order?
Yeah, sure. So 14 is the Celtics,
and that's the pick that the Grizzlies had.
Yes.
So the Grizzlies
that was from the
lost.
Jeff Green trade, right? We looked that up.
Yeah. It was a Jeff Green trade. Yeah.
It's just crazy that they traded Jeff Green for a first.
Yeah, Jeff Green was pretty good. Like, wasn't that in like 2017 actually? So it was pretty unacceptable to trade Jeff Green for that. But he was pretty good in like 2013. 13 Pelicans, 12 the Kings, 11 the now rebuilding San Antonio Spurs, 10 the Suns, 9 the Wizards, 8 the Knicks, 7 the Pistons, 6 the Hawks, who I actually picked to get the number 1 pick. I don't know why I was feeling the Hawks so much, but I was. 5 the Cleveland Cavaliers, 4 the Chicago Bulls.
Yes, sir.
Number 3, Charlotte, the second worst run team in basketball. Number 2, the best run team in basketball right now, the Warriors. And number 1, the Minnesota Timberwolves. So let's talk about this. So, from what I can see, really nobody besides the Knicks and Pistons really got fucked.
Yeah.
Right?
Everything stayed, at least in the realm of where we thought it would be. Obviously, there were some picks that were like, they jumped up 2 or 3 spots from they were projected. But other than the Knicks and Pistons, everyone was right around where they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Except for the Wolves. They jumped up.
Yeah.
I think they were like 5 or 6, which is pretty cool.
The Wolves, the thing with so with these new lottery odds, 3 teams had a 14% chance to get the number 1 pick. One of them was the Warriors, who got the number 2 pick. One of them was the Cavaliers, who got the number 5 pick, and one of them was, I believe, the Hawks. I think the Hawks were.
Who got the 6th pick?
Who got the 6th pick? I think it was the Hawks. We might want to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it was the Hawks.
Yeah, because they were ass.
Yeah, because I think they were the 14th team in the East. So, yeah, Celtics will probably draft a stud. The Pelicans are actually also kind of underrated at drafting in these last.
Actually, the Celtics drafted Romeo Langford with the 14th pick last year, so maybe not.
That's true. The Kings are in a tough spot right now, dude.
Yeah. I was actually, me and Colin were talking about this. So, because Harry Giles, I believe, is a free agent.
Let me fact check that.
Marvin Bagley's a free agent next season, I think.
He'll be restricted.
Dude, I got water in my throat. Oh, God.
I think he's a restricted free agent, but I can't imagine they'll match a qualifying offer
So we were talking about that. We were thinking, if Harry Giles is willing to take a 1-year, $2 million contract just so you can see if he can, what he can do if he is healthy. But guys like Marvin Bagley, you don't want to pay them a max or even near a max. And you don't even want. I wouldn't even want to go above $10 million for a guy like Marvin Bagley just because you don't know if he can stay on the court at all.
Yeah. Okay. Just real quick, Harry Giles is a free agent this offseason, so you were right about that. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
But so what you're saying is for a guy like Marvin Bagley, what's an acceptable amount of money to match or even to offer? Because there's going to be teams that offer him a decent amount of money just because of his potential, but then it's to the Kings because he's a restricted free agent. So it's do they want to match that, or do they want to let him walk if he takes money? It's we don't think he's worth it because he might not even play for all we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that there's a team. If the Kings are really set on it, I think that there is a team in probably the top 8 to 10 that would take a flyer on Marvin Bagley in the 12th overall pick, and I think that team is probably the Knicks. I don't think that you could do a sign and trade with Harry Giles because of his injury history. I don't think that Buddy Hield would work. Actually, maybe Buddy Hield in that 12th pick. I think you could maybe convince a team like the Hornets or the maybe Cavaliers or Hawks to do something like that because they're dumb.
Yeah.
But he's also, another shooting guard. He's a shooting guard weapon. Maybe not the Hornets because they're actually really heavy at shooting guard already.
Well, to be fair, one of their shooting guards is Malik Monk, so
he is true. But they also have their guard payroll is ridiculous. Like just with Terry Rozier's contract alone, it's an absurd. Ridiculous. Let me. So I don't know what you could do with that, but I think that if you could worm your way into the top 10 with that 12th pick and then Bagley, and then I think you could maybe get yourself into the top 5 or 6 with Hield in that 12th pick. I think that that's probably the best, the most ideal situation for them. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't... We're talking about the Kings, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, it's so tough because, like, obviously, hopefully they get a new coach in the offseason, right? So then it depends on how they want the team run. And then you got to see how Fox is going to develop. And then, they have to still get a new general manager. They don't have a lot of moving pieces. So I personally, I would, again, like I said, I'd probably give an ideal offseason for the Kings, try to get Harry Giles back on a 2-year, $5 million contract just to see if he can, provide any sort of usefulness. I honestly might trade Bagley, just see what I can get for him. Same with Hield.
I agree. At least I'd
move
for
up in the
sure
draft.
Shop Hield and Bagley. I think really the only untouchable player on that roster for me right now is De'Aaron Fox, and I would maybe consider making Richaun Holmes untouchable just because he's another good big man if you're shopping Giles.
Yeah, he had a good season. But that's the Kings are in a tough spot because they're gonna have so many moving pieces. Again, hopefully Luke Walton's fired, but I mean that's not good to keep changing coaches, So it's tough. I wouldn't be surprised if they just kept everything the same, kept up with their 12th pick, and got a new GM and just saw how things went next season. I wouldn't be surprised with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's so many options.
Yeah, and that's really... I think that if they had given Vlade Divac one more offseason to make a bad decision, we would be looking at a very different draft placing for them. I think that maybe I could see him trading away this pick for something stupid. But hopefully they at least keep this pick or find a way to trade up.
Mm-hmm. Now, the worst thing to do, which I guess it didn't work out horribly for the Wizards, because if you remember in the last draft they went into it without a general manager to pick their player.
Yeah.
And then that led to, in the press conference with Rui, they're like, wait, so you can shoot threes, right? And it's like, you can't do that with your lottery pick,
Yeah. It's like, yeah, because he was he was not only a lottery pick, he was the 9th overall pick and one of the more hyped players in that draft. How do you do zero scouting? They did.
Yeah, exactly.
They did as little scouting as they possibly could, and it's not like they fired their scouting department. They fired the fucking GM. I don't understand that. It's just, it's a little ridiculous to me. All right, number 11, San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs at number 11 are going to figure out a way to get like a top 5 player in the draft. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to do it, and it's going to be really annoying for the rest of the league.
I think personally that they should like keep the pick, but possibly do a sign and trade with DeRozan, and either try to move up or get another pick.
I really like that, actually. So you're saying just go full in on Lonnie Walker, Derek White, and DeJounte Murray,
and Keldon Johnson, because I like him too.
And Keldon Johnson, and last couple productive years of LaMarcus Aldridge and Jakob Poeltl, and just see what you can do with that roster.
Yeah, and honestly, I would keep LaMarcus around, 1, because he's obviously a very good player, but 2, he's been with that franchise for a while. He can help the new guys adjust. But honestly, because he's getting surgery, he's up there in age. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded him, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, but I could see him maybe coming into like more of a mentor role
right.
Them, and I think that Pop likes to keep some of those guys around. Like I think that's why he kept Ginobili, and obviously they were still productive in their later years anyway, but I think that's why they decided to stay around as long as they did too. Ginobili and Duncan, and Tony Parker to an extent, even though he left. I could see him and Patty Mills kind of transitioning into that like older mentor sort of thing for that team.
And so we're seeing Tony Parker in a Hornets jersey was almost as weird as seeing Dwayne Wade in the Cavs jersey.
Oh, dude, it was horrible. I don't know why the hell he
I did not like that.
He played I think he played 80 games that year, but it felt like he played 40.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 10, the Suns, the best team in the bubble. Missed the playoffs by the skin of their teeth. Got the number 10 overall pick. What do they do with this? What do they need? What do the Phoenix Suns need?
A bench.
Exactly. And what are they probably going to draft in this
draft?
What
I would do? Well, they're probably going to draft another wing, which actually I wouldn't be opposed to. Because if they can move Cam Johnson off the bench, because I think he was solid, but coming in at the age he's at already, he needed to be a little more than like a developing player. He needed to have like an immediate impact. So if you could move him to the bench, slot Oubre at the who's their current 4? Is it Sarge? No, he hasn't played there.
I think it's
or does he?
I think Bridges sometimes plays the 4.
I don't know.
I don't really watch the Suns for their not Devin Booker or DeAndre Ayton players.
Yeah, to be honest. If they can get like a stretch 4, I think like a stretch 4 or a good wing and slot Oubre at the 4 or something like that. You know what I mean? Then they can have Bridges and Johnson off the bench. I liked DeAnthony Melton. So
yeah, I agree.
I think he's on that team, right? Am I thinking of DeAnthony Melton?
DeAnthony Melton.
I can't remember. It's either him or there's someone on that team that's a really good defender off their bench.
Oh, Bridges.
I can't remember. No. It's a guard.
DeAnthony Melton plays for the Grizzlies.
So not Javon Carter. That's who it is.
Yeah.
I liked him, so.
Yeah, I don't really know. If I'm the Suns, I'm really counting on DeAndre Ayton not juicing again next year. Is really, I think, what it comes down to, because that kind of destroyed their season. If you really think about it,
They also they can look forward to, I think Jalen LeCue is, I don't know how much he's developed in the offseason, but he did play in the G League last season, so they might try to bring him up as another guard, or they might keep him in there for another year, but he's a promising player for them to look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. Number 9, the Wizards. The Wizards were by far the worst team in the bubble. I don't think there's even any sort of argument for that. They were terrible. They were so bad that they were leapfrogged by 2 teams that weren't playing. I think they finished 11th in the East, and they were one of 9 Eastern Conference teams in the bubble. They were a waste of space in the bubble, and now they have. I believe they had the 8th or 9th overall pick last year. I think it was 9. So, what do the Wizards need?
Honestly, it just depends on how John Wall comes back. If he can, because I think he's going to play next season. If he can come back and be, an all-star caliber point guard, then I would focus on really everything besides point guard and shooting guard, because they had like the worst defense in the league. Rui's developing. Thomas Bryant's solid, but I wouldn't want him being my starter. And then on top of that, they had guys like Isaac Bonga and Mo Wagner playing their 3. So maybe not have that ideally.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I like Troy Brown for that team. I still don't understand why they traded Kelly Oubre for Trevor Ariza. He could still be on that team. But,
dude, I don't know what they were thinking with that. They were like, this 34-year-old on an expiring contract, or this 23-year-old who's gotten better every year he's been in the league. I don't really understand the reasoning with that, honestly.
Yeah, I don't understand it, dude.
But
they could have had him, but they don't. Their bench is also completely terrible. They have nothing besides Bradley Beal, John Wall, Ruiz, who's developing. Well, you got some young dudes, but John Wall is. I don't want to say he's declining, but with all the injuries he's had, he's not gonna have a much longer.
I don't think
prime.
that's unfair to say he's declining. Actually,
yeah.
I think he's probably. Now this is gonna come back and bite me in the ass, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I think he is probably past his prime years at this point with the injuries he's had.
Yeah.
I don't think.
But no one's gonna take that John Wall contract anyway. Like, there's no way anyone trades for it. So they're stuck with him until it's over. So I don't know what they do from here, honestly.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, of course, having a pick in the lottery is great, but like, what are the Wizards gonna do with it? Like, what are the Wizards going to do that's going to change their franchise in this lottery? Rui Hachimura is a great player that they picked last year at the same spot, but this draft, I would say, is not quite as... Like, last year, pretty much every pick in the top 10 that you could have possibly made was going to be a pretty decent player somehow. And I think there are a couple players in the top 10 in this draft that are... very hit or miss.
Yeah.
And I
mean, there was no tournament this year, so I really don't know anything about the prospects. But
yeah, I know a lot about the top 5, and pretty much nothing else about anybody else because I also rely on the tournament a lot for my college basketball knowledge, which is why we're not really discussing who we think they're gonna draft, more what position we think they're going to draft or like how they're going to draft. So let's move on
to the Knicks.
Let's hit the New York Knicks at the number 8 spot. How many times are the New York Knicks going to bend over and get fucked by the draft lottery?
Bro, I'm enjoying it.
I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. How does this keep happening to them? They had the best odds. I mean, technically, they were tied for best odds with 2 other teams last year. They got 3rd, and then lost the draft lottery to 2 teams who I don't think even had top 5 odds. They were terrible this year. They had a total of 1.5 good player. I think that's fair to say.
Who's the half?
I think that Kevin Knox, Dennis Smith Jr., Taj Gibson, Frank Ntilikina,
actually,
and Julius Randle count as half, and then Mitchell Robinson counts as 1.
And RJ. RJ was pretty solid.
RJ was solid. So I guess they have 2 because RJ counts for another half.
Yeah.
But what do you
Is
do?
Mike Miller still their coach?
Who?
Or who was their coach this season?
I didn't think it was Mike Miller. You know what? I did not watch a single Knicks game this year. I don't even think I watched them when they played the Pacers.
I mean, why would you?
It's Mike Miller. Wait, was it really Mike Miller? Oh,
yeah.
It's not.
Oh no, they
Mike
hired
Miller.
Tibbs now.
It's not that Mike Miller though. It's a different Mike Miller.
No, it's not the player.
I was thinking, I was like, I thought
But
Mike
they have
Miller was
Tibbs
an
now, which is
assistant.
arguably worse.
I think that the only thing that they could have possibly done worse than hiring Tom Thibodeau is waiting for the Bulls to fire Jim Boylan and hiring him.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? What are they gonna do? They could have gotten a top. I know that they have the 6th best odds, but I'm pretty sure Memphis had like the 6th best odds last year, and they got the 2nd overall pick and a franchise-changing point guard. So the Knicks could have gotten the 4th overall pick, gotten a guy like Obi Toppin, and maybe be set for the next 10 years with. Like, they could have drafted another superstar. Draft.
Let's be real. Let's be real here. The Knicks, even if they drafted,
Never mind. Yeah.
they would either ruin him or they trade him away for like Trevor Ariza.
That's true.
Or like they'd use Obi Toppin to get Chris Paul. You know,
Yeah.
like that's really where the Knicks are at.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what is so hard about winning the draft lottery, but the Knicks even fail at something that's just by luck. Literally the only thing that could possibly determine the Knicks draft spot each and every year is luck, and they keep losing at that. And I don't know.
It's to the point with the Knicks where they can't even use the "at least we have championships" debate argument anymore because it's just so sad. After those 2 championships, everything else just falls apart.
It's like, yeah, we've got 2 championships, and it's like, when were those championships? Well, when your parents were born, about 5 years before that. It's like, who gives it? Like, sorry, pre-merger championships, I'm not as keen on. I don't know. Hey, the coach of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, 2 of the 5 best players ever. He was on the Knicks championship team. He was,
wasn't he?
It's been such a long time since the Knicks won a championship that a player on that team has won 11 championships as a coach. That's how long it's been. And he's been retired from coaching for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. It's been so long since the Knicks won a championship that that guy didn't get a head coaching job until 15 years after they won a championship, and didn't win a championship of his own as a coach until about 18 years after they won a championship.
It's been 50 years.
God damn. It's been so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, those don't even count. I'm sorry.
It's like I personally don't hate the Knicks, but it's so much fun to just make fun of their failures, you know.
I don't hate the Knicks, but I do kind of resent them for being in such a huge market that they can't get anything done ever. Like, if you put the Pacers front office in New York, they'd win 11 championships a year. They'd win so consistently. Like, if you put any average front office in New York, they would get more free agents than anybody.
If you put a front office that has the brain to, like, even if you don't believe in it, write a letter supporting Black Lives Matter. You know?
Yeah.
James Dolan didn't even do that. Like,
he's such a dumbass, though. Like, do you really expect him to do that? Like, he's so stupid.
Dude, you didn't even have to write it. So his secretary could have written it and just said it was him. Like,
Mr. Dolan is appalled with the current state of affairs in America. Signed, James Dolan. Like, you can even write it in the third person.
Easy as that. But instead, he didn't even do that.
Dude, okay, do you want to continue to talk about them?
No.
That's what I was thinking.
But I don't want to talk about the Pistons either.
All right, so here comes Detroit.
They have Christian Wood. That's about it.
Detroit has an advantage that the Knicks don't, which is Detroit does not have a completely incompetent front office. They're pretty dumb.
Only a mostly incompetent front office.
Yeah. They're pretty dumb.
Here's the problem, like, for the most part, they're not horrible, but when it comes to the drafting process, boy, are they bad.
Dude.
Oh, my.
Dude,
It's shocking how many draft picks they've missed on.
Dude.
And how many all-stars that have been picked after them.
I don't know how the hell that happened.
I don't know.
Like,
it's a miracle, honestly. Well, not a miracle for them, wild. But it's like, if you're picking after the Pistons in the lottery, you're probably okay. Like, if you have a guy that you really want and the Pistons are up next, you're probably fine. I mean...
Jesus Christ, dude. Okay, what are the Pistons? The Pistons could draft any position, and it would be a good take.
Yeah,
they have no.
Basically,
they have nothing.
They have Christian Wood.
They have Christian Wood,
and he's a free agent soon. If I'm not wrong.
Luke Kennard and Blake Griffin. Those are their three best players right now.
When your third best player is like 33-year-old Blake Griffin with a broken leg.
Yeah.
And then Luke Kennard, who can't play defense to save his life, also was hurt this season and is like an all-right scorer. And then Christian Wood, who's good for about 20 games a season.
Yeah, I just pack it up.
I mean, Detroit. They have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They can pick any, but they're drafting for best available, right?
Yeah,
they're one of the team.
Exactly. They're not drafting for positional need. I 100% agree with that. So now let's get to... let's just get to this top six, because it's way less depressing.
Partially.
Number 6, the Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks have to hit on this draft pick. And if they hit on this draft pick,
I don't even know
they will make
what. I don't think they even need anyone super valuable. They just need to get the guys that they do have to be better. Because, Trae Young's obviously Trae Young. Kevin Huerter had a bit of a sophomore slump, but he's still a good shooter. We know that. Cam Reddish started really, really bad, but he picked it up, at least efficiency-wise. Later in the season, DeAndre Hunter's always been a solid defender. You just got to get the scoring aspect a little better. John Collins is a good player. Clint Capella's a good player. I mean, those guys are good. They just need to,
who has played 0
Clint Capella's the only thing I would see, like, if the Hawks could get, like, I might honestly trade this pick.
Really?
Because for them, what I was thinking is, like, the way the Hawks team is, they had Kevin Huerter running their backup point guard. He can't be your starting shooting guard and your backup point guard.
Yeah.
So if they can get a backup, because I was going to say maybe draft Cole Anthony, but there's no way you take Cole Anthony to be a backup. That's just ridiculous.
I don't think there's any way you take Cole Anthony that you take him in the top 6.
I mean, I don't know. He's just the only point guard I could think of from that draft class that would potentially fall at 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you could trade that pick, get potential future first rounders, and just get, like, a good backup point guard. Because most of this team is relying on just getting the guys that they do have to get better and just learn more about NBA basketball.
Okay, so let's think about this. Bringing up the Kings thing from earlier, what if they decide, hey, let's take a flyer on Marvin Bagley, get this 12th overall pick, maybe take, a point guard, maybe take Cole Anthony at 12, and then you can maybe have him at your starting shooting guard or Cam Reddish at your starting shooting guard, and then have Cole Anthony and Kevin Huerter man your second unit, at least for now, because, he's still a rookie. Like, he might bitch about it, but who gives a shit?
The thing is, I don't even know if I'd want to take that risk on Bagley, because then with like the 99% chance that he doesn't work out, you just threw away your 6th pick.
Well, here's what Bagley does if he's healthy for you. He gets you another rebounder, and Trae Young is looking like his career trajectory is going towards a sort of James Harden, Steph Curry archetype, where he is a volume outside shooter, and that's where he gets the majority of his points, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So those guys need great rebounders, and they have 2 of them right now. But if they got Marvin Bagley for their second unit, I think that would make them one of the more elite rebounding teams. And if you ran all 3 of them at the same time, you would get shit tons of offensive rebounds. Like if you ran, like let's say Collins at the 4, Bagley at the 3, and Capella at the 5, you would be pretty terrible defensively, but you might just score 160 points a game.
I think instead of Bagley, I would honestly, because they already run Herter as their backup 1. So if you could fully have him embrace that role and find just a above average like an 18 point per game scorer that could be a shooter next to Trae Young, that can also defend a little bit, like that might be more ideal.
So Cole Anthony minus the defending part.
Is he a spot-up shooter? I don't know.
He's not a spot-up shooter, no. But he could give you 15. He could give you probably 15, 16 points a game. But maybe on bad efficiency. I don't know. I think he's kind of gonna be. I think he's gonna have to be a number. I think his offense is gonna have to revolve around him.
Right.
As opposed to.
That's what I'm saying. Because like if they go the Warriors route and can try to find a player that can be like a new Klay Thompson, a 3-and-D, one of the like a top shooter that can also play good defense next to Trae Young. If they can find something like that, or someone with the mold of a Klay Thompson, that would be perfect for them.
Flip that pick
because if they can flip this pick, or even just trade down and get someone that they think could be that.
The problem is, to my knowledge in this draft, I don't think that there's quite a lights-out shooter like that. Like last year there was Cam Johnson, who's like a lights-out spot-up shooter, big guy, like 6'9", I think. There's not really a guy like that in this draft. Now, if the Hawks call up Pat Riley and they're like, Pat, we want to take either Duncan Robinson, which I think he will probably be untouchable, or Tyler Herro. And we're gonna give you.
I think both of those guys are. I don't think they're gonna trade either of those guys.
I don't know. I think if the Hawks were like, we'll give you the number 6 overall pick, and then we'll give you Kevin Huerter, and we will, and you give us Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson. So the Heat get an opportunity to draft in the top 6, and they get a worse version of. Let's say Tyler Herro, because I think Duncan Robinson will probably not be traded by the Heat. He's pretty essential for them.
The thing is, though, that like from what I've heard from like interviews and stuff, Jimmy Butler has basically taken Tyler Herro under his wing.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think the Heat are gonna trade him.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That would probably not go over well with your franchise player if you traded his. Favorite rookie or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, let's look.
I don't know.
What do you have any other final thoughts on the Hawks?
No.
All right, number 5, we got Cleveland. The Cavaliers have to draft a big guy. They don't need any more fucking guards that can't play defense.
They'll probably draft Cole Anthony. They drafted Darius Garland with the 5th pick last year, right? I wouldn't be surprised.
They did, but last year's draft is a little different than this one. Like this one, I think there are a lot more players who are. I think there's going to be a lot more positional drafting rather than just drafting for need, because there's not really a clear cut like 1 through. Like last year there was a pretty clear cut order of where players were going to go based on how good they are. This year, I've seen the top 3 be 3 different ways. And I don't think that's a stretch. I think that there are enough different combinations. I think that if Obi Toppin falls to Cleveland, you take him immediately. He is, and I don't think people are going to make the mistake of, talking about Obi Toppin, dissing him because he played in a small conference, because clearly that doesn't matter with Ja Morant. I'm not going to make that mistake this year. I made that mistake last year. I am very high on Obi Toppin. I think that if Cleveland gets him and pairs him with Colin Sexton in the pick and roll, I think that might put them back in the playoffs in 2 or 3 years.
I wouldn't go that far.
You wouldn't?
No. Cleveland's ass, dude. They're gonna be ass. They don't even have a coach. I think they've had J.B. Bickerstaff running their coaching system right now. So, plus Darius Garland, again, last season was his first season where he actually played since like high school, so he's probably going to need some more time to actually develop into a good player. Kevin Love's still on the books. He doesn't seem like he wants to play there. And then what else? You got Tristan Thompson, Jetty Osman. Like, this team is ass. They're not a playoff team.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Cleveland has the 11th worst cap space in the league right now.
Yeah.
Kevin Love is signed through 2022-23. He's making $31 million the next 2 years, and then $28 million the last year of his career or his contract. But he's one of the only guys they have really locked up long term. Like,
But they're not going to get any free agents. Like, no one wants to go to Cleveland unless LeBron's there.
Fair. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who they draft. Like, I mean, I know who they draft. If Obi Toppin's available, draft him. But will they draft him? Probably not. They'll probably draft Cole Anthony, maybe one of the other guards.
They'll probably trade this pick and any assets they have that are deemed at all valuable and try to get LaMelo.
That would not surprise me. It would also be really funny if they traded this pick for like Blake Griffin or something. They're like, we'll take a flyer on 33-year-old Blake.
That's a Cavs move. Actually, it's more a Knicks move.
Yeah, I mean, really, the Cavs are just the Midwest Knicks. They're the Midwest Knicks that got super lucky 15 years ago.
Yeah, they're like if the Knicks didn't fall in the draft every year.
Yeah, exactly. Number 4, we got the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to let you take this one. What do you want the Bulls to do?
First of all, hopefully start Kobe White this year. I don't know why he wasn't starting last year. But Jim Boylan, so I guess that's why. But also, if they have a lineup with Kobe White and Zach LaVine as their backcourt, they're not guarding anybody. Laurie and Wendell as their front court, not horrible. I would go with a wing because Otto Porter, while he's good and he's making a lot of money, he didn't play at all last season. He was hurt the entire time, and our bench is kind of ass. So even if he does play, he could be a good second unit guy. If you can get like a, again, I don't really know anyone in this draft, but if you can get like a really solid like 3, that would be useful. If not, like again, I don't know who's in this draft, but like the same thing that goes with the Hawks, which is like trade the pick, get a much better bench and some future picks or something. But if I was them, the first thing I'd try to do is get a wing, just so Otto Porter, if he does only play another like 10 games this season, we don't have to worry too much. Because Denzel Valentine was starting, so.
Yeah, that's a problem. So in a lot of the mocks, the 1 through 3, even though it's a revolving door of who's going to be 1, 2, or 3, it's the same 3 players. It's James Wiseman, it's Anthony Edwards, it's LaMelo Ball. I think that's pretty much set. Now, 4 and 5 are weird because there are both places that Obi Toppin could go. Obi Toppin could go anywhere from 4 to 10, I think. And I think that the Bulls would be smart to take him.
I don't know, what position does he play? Isn't he a big?
He is, but he's kind of like a 4-ish. I don't know. What would you think if they took Toppin, put him at the 4, put Wendell at the 5, and then have Lowry playing the 3.
Lowry's a 7-footer. He's too big to play the 3. He moves like a big man.
I agree.
That would not work. That's like the Sixers trying to run Al Horford at the 4. It just doesn't work.
All right, number 3, the Charlotte Hornets. This is where I am convinced that LaMelo Ball is going to go, and I think that the double team tag of LeVar Ball and Michael Jordan, the owner, are going to tag team and ruin his career. I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm not optimistic about that situation in Charlotte, just period, for anybody, but especially for a talented young guard.
Again, I wouldn't be surprised if LaMelo went here. I think Charlotte's one of the few teams that needs to draft on need, or not on need, on a best player available. So they probably will go LaMelo.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Terry Rozier is an all-right player. He's making a lot of money. Devontae Graham, he was like all-right last season.
Wasn't he coming off the bench for a while, though?
No, him and Devontae they're the backcourt.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, Devontae Graham was the least efficient player in the league last year. So, maybe have him not have
he was
to,
their best player.
So if he doesn't have to, take every shot and be the primary player on every possession to take some load off, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
So LaMelo makes the most sense, honestly, but, I mean, again, LeVar and Michael Jordan would be running his career. So,
yeah.
Not great.
All right, number 2.
Warriors need to take Wiseman.
Warriors. They need to take Wiseman. Agreed.
They don't even need him to be like an all-star. They don't need a trade for an all-star. They need him to put up like 8 points and 10 boards, and that's all they need.
Yeah, they will win the championship next year if he's average.
Yeah.
Assuming Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are both healthy, which I would assume they will be.
Yeah.
And number 1 overall pick
goes the Timberwolves.
The Minnesota Timberwolves.
Now, with them, again, I'm assuming they're probably going to take Anthony Edwards first. If they slot him in it, he's a 2, right? He plays a shooting guard.
Yeah. I mean,
so if they have him,
played just player for Georgia last year because he was like one of their best players. Like basically he was by far their best player. He was one of their only good players. So he kind of played the 1 through 3 for them.
Okay. I mean, if they run him as a backcourt partner with D'Lo, that wouldn't be bad. And they could move Malik Beasley either the 3 or just off the bench, which would be nice. They obviously still have Cat, and honestly, I liked some of their trade deadline moves. So
yeah,
their team's not
the
horrible.
Only good move that they made at the trade deadline.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I feel like it'd be kind of cool. Like I know the Suns aren't gonna do this, but I saw like the things coming around like the Timberwolves could potentially trade this pick for Devin Booker and have all 3 of those guys on the same team. And while they wouldn't play any defense at all, it would be a very fun team.
But it would be.
But you could not tell me it would not. Yeah, their offense would be really fun, and they're like best friends. So.
Yeah, it would be. It would either be like. It would either be like the Warriors, or no, it would either be like the Heatles or like the late '90s Rockets with like Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley and Hakeem, like that experiment.
Yeah.
That got completely fucked. The thing that they have though is youth.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And again, they've been friends for so long. They've talked about teaming up at some point.
Cat and Devin Booker went to Kentucky. They were on the same team. They went the same draft.
Yeah.
And actually, now that I say that, this is the second number 1 overall pick the Timberwolves have had in the last 6 years. They've made the playoffs once as an 8 seed. And that was only because they traded for Jimmy Butler.
Because Andrew Wiggins and Cat were both first picks, right?
Yeah, but Andrew Wiggins got drafted by the Cavaliers, and he got.
Oh, he did. Yeah, that's right.
Trade.
Right. No, I don't. Again, I don't think the Suns are going to trade Devin Booker, especially after how they did in the bubble. But it would be cool. But I will probably take Edwards. I don't know if he's big enough to play the 3 because Malik Beasley played really well before the season shut down last year too, even though it was a small sample size. So I mean, if he can keep up that, they have a decent squad.
Well, if you trade if you're the Suns and you trade away your surefire all-star for the number 1 pick for a guy who's basically the same player as your surefire all-star, but is probably a worse version, then what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Why would they do that?
That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree.
But if they had if the Timberwolves draft Edwards, they could have D'Lo, Malik Beasley, Edwards. I think who they have Gorgie Zhang as their starting 4, and then Cat.
Yeah, I think so.
Which isn't horrible. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a playoff team in the West, but it's not bad. And again, also if you have Malik Beasley coming off the bench and he continues the hot streak he had at the end of the season, that could be pretty valuable.
Yeah, I 100% agree. All right, so now in these last couple minutes, so we spent a lot of time on the lottery, which I'm glad we did because that was fun. But with these last couple minutes, first week of the playoffs, what are your takeaways? Let's do a takeaway from each series. So
the East is boring.
I agree.
They're all going to be sweeps except for the Bucks, who are going to win in 5. That's my takeaway.
I agree, actually. Bucks Magic was looking like it might be interesting after that first game, and then Giannis got into the locker room and was like, hey, fuckers, I'm going to leave if we play like that again. And then everybody was like, okay, Jesus.
Well, everyone else didn't even play well. Chris Middleton was terrible.
Yeah, that's true. Chris Middleton was so bad that it brought the whole team down. And he just pointed at
Chris Middleton. I guess Chris Middleton wants Giannis to leave.
Yeah, Chris Middleton was like, I want to be the number 1. Just
yeah.
It. And then Giannis pointed to him at the locker room and was like, listen, fucker, if I'm in Miami in a year, sitting on the beach, then it's going to be your fault. Shape up or ship out, motherfucker. And then he did not do that because he had 2 points in game 2. But they won, and they won convincingly. And then they won convincingly again, and then I think they're going to sweep. Actually, they played today. Did they win?
I'm assuming they did.
Yeah,
I'm checking that right now.
They won.
Yeah,
again,
it wasn't even close.
This is what we thought they were going to play like. It took them a game to figure it out, but whatever. All right, what's the next series? 2-7. That's not even really worth talking about. That's one of the biggest ass whoopings.
None of the series are worth talking about, dude. They're all ass
the
whoopings.
Raptors have been a part of that they were doling out. 3-6. Joel, okay, can we talk about the Sixers? Can we do our Sixers roast? We did our Knicks roast for the day. Can we do our Sixers roast?
Yeah, I feel bad for Embiid. This team is ass. Al Horford's like the worst player in the league.
Worse than Kevin Knox? Okay, sorry, Nick.
Kevin Knox isn't playing right now, so I'd have to say yes. Tobias Harris has been ass. Everyone's been ass except for Embiid, and I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I just...
Did you see they canceled their practice for today? They basically
were
given up.
so bad last night that they just canceled it.
Yeah, they're giving up, dude.
Yeah, I don't want to see this series. I know that Embiid's got a reputation as a not great playoff performer after last year and the year before that in the second round specifically, because he was pretty dominant in the first round both of those years. But I really don't want that to be the narrative around him because it's not fair. Especially
after this season.
If people are using... Really, it's fair to use those series, but if people are using this series as evidence that he's a bad playoff performer, you can go fuck yourself because he is doing everything in his power, and it's not working because the Celtics are so leaps and bounds better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen like his post game interviews? Like, I feel like I'm doing so much, I'm doing everything I can. And it's just we can't find a way to win. He looks so defeated. And I like Embiid when I've been a little down on him this past year or two just because, he's done a lot of trash talking and the teams have been bad and stuff. But like I genuinely feel bad for him because he's putting up like 30 and 15 a game, and no one else is pulling their weight.
Yeah, Embiid's one of those guys that is fun. He seems like a fun dude. He kind of annoys me because of some of his Twitter antics, but for the most part, he's pretty harmless. But seeing him like that, it's like seeing the school bully kick you in the balls on recess and then go, and he's just sitting alone, And you're like, oh man, I feel kind of bad for him, but he is also kind of annoying, so I don't know why I feel so bad for him.
Yeah. That was a weird... Did that happen to you?
No. I actually think that's a... I forget. It's a joke from something, but it's like, you feel bad, even though he's kind of an asshole, you feel bad for him, and then, you know. And then the 4-5, it's over.
Yeah.
Actually, that game started at 3:30. I'm not even bothering to watch it.
The score's 41-34 right now. I was hoping, I didn't think the Pacers were going to win the series, but I was hoping, if they lose in 5, it'd be at least an interesting 5. It hasn't been.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's been interesting through the first half, and then the second half, it all falls apart.
Yeah.
All right, now let's go out west, where there are much more interesting playoff series to be had. The 1-8 matchup, Lakers-Portland. This is, I would say, probably the best 8 seed ever, just because they shouldn't be an 8 seed. If they had Nurkic all year, they wouldn't be an 8 seed. They'd probably be I could see them being anywhere from the 3 to the 6.
Yeah.
With Nurk.
Because they were so good last year, too.
Yeah, they were the 3 seed last year. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good series. I think that Portland, now Charles Barkley's had an idiotic comment about if Portland wins game 1, they're gonna sweep, which obviously they're not. Charles Barkley, for whatever reason, is a really big Portland Trailblazers fan.
He has been, dude, for a while.
He picks them in almost every series they play in. I think he picked them against the fucking Warriors last year.
Which, again, to be fair, they were close. They were winning each game by 12 at halftime, or 20 at half, and then they just choked it.
Yeah. I think that this series, if Portland won it, it would be the least shock at an 8 seed winning over a 1 seed. But it would still be insane and will most definitely not happen.
Right.
But it would probably be the least shocking 1-8 upset of all time, just because of how great Portland is with Nurkic and how really shitty the Lakers are without, really just the not Anthony Davis, LeBron James players. That's a team that's competing for the lottery. That's like those graphics that they would pull up of here's the Lakers 2013-14 lineup when Kobe tore his Achilles, and it's like Chris Kaman 4 years after he was an all-star, Jordan Clarkson, just a bunch of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
This series, I follow a couple Lakers fans on Twitter, for different reasons, but they're still Lakers fans, so they're tweeting about the game, and I could feel the frustration with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Danny Green specifically, with a touch of frustration at Alex Caruso. But it's hard to be mad at Alex Caruso because you know that he's not supposed to be a good NBA player, and he just is for some reason. And when he plays badly, you're like, oh, that's what he's supposed to be doing because he looks like that.
Yeah, KCP picked it up in game 2, though. Danny Green still hasn't hit a shot, though. They should probably take him out of the rotation.
He's 0 of 9. I don't really get why, and this was a problem with the Pacers too. This was something that Frank Vogel has done for years. Frank Vogel's lineup adjustment in that game, especially that first game, you have Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith. I get it, they're not ideal, but they are way better than whatever Alex Caruso, KCP, and Danny Green are giving you. You could at least trust J.R. to get in there, maybe hit a 3, and that's more than what Danny Green's doing.
Right.
Just the extra threat of, oh, I have to, try a little bit more to guard J.R. Smith than I'm trying to guard Danny Green right now. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit more strain on that, but whatever. You done talking about the Lakers? Do you have any other thoughts?
LeBron needs to play better. That's about it. He was the reason they lost that first game. So I mean.
Yeah.
Because
what? He had a triple double.
Yeah, and he also missed 2 free throws that would have tied the game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Hashtag
So and then the second game he only had 10 points.
Hashtag 3 and 6.
But he also had like 10 points in game 2. But
yeah, it's LeBron. He's gonna more likely than not win this series for them. I can't really blame him for in his first playoff game in 2 years. I can't really blame him for being a little shitty in the closing moments when he was good the entire game.
Right.
So next up, we've got the 2-7.
This is the most entertaining playoff series.
You think so?
The Mavericks could very well be up 3-0 right now. Game 1, the Porzingis ejection, and then Game 3, Luka went out, and all the games have been close.
Wow, I don't know about that.
They would have won
Game 1 for sure. Game 3,
and I mean, the thing, Game 3, they only lost by 8, and Luka went out with his ankle injury.
Yeah, but so, I mean, they had a couple garbage time baskets. Like that was a 15-point game for the majority of the game. The Clippers were pretty consistently up for most of that.
I know, dude. Playoff P could have found a way to make him lose.
Dude, okay. Can we talk about Playoff P?
He's arrived. Him and Championship Chuck are about to pop off.
Since crowning himself Playoff P in Game 1 of the 2018 first-round series against the Utah Jazz, Paul George has gone 3-10 in playoff games.
Yeah. He's lucky Kawhi is who he is in the playoffs, or the Clippers be bounced in the first round.
Kawhi Leonard, it's such a beautiful reminder of last year. Just every time he hits a turnaround jump shot, I'm like, that's why he's the best player in the league in the playoffs. Like I haven't seen him miss a turnaround jump shot. Like it is his shot. Like that little mid-range 10 feet out. Mwah, every time. Chef's kiss. Kawhi hits it.
And the thing about Paul George, like in Game 3, he was outscored by Marcus Morris, who fouled out, Ivica Zubac, Landry Shamet, Montrez, and Lou Will had 1 less point. Like, dude.
That's pathetic.
You're supposed to be the second superstar of this team.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say he's not a superstar. This season has not been convincing in that argument. He was fine. Like he was good. He was an all-star if he was playing, but like he hasn't been for a while. So
yeah.
I think they're gonna pull this one out. I think it's gonna be probably the 6 games, seven maybe. I think that they had kind of figured out. They had figured out Dallas last night, from what I saw. At least some of their offense, like they were shutting it down a little bit better. You were like, oh, this is the Clippers team I was supposed to be watching against Dallas. Like, this is not the Clippers team that was getting washed by 2 white guys and Seth Curry. It's like, it's just it's as a fan of the not Lakers, that was a good kind of soothing game to watch.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the 3-6, because holy shit.
The Jazz are, dude, Mike Malone looked so defeated yesterday. Did you see that? He was like stressing out.
I did not get to watch that game. I just saw the box score afterward, and I was like, holy shit, they won by 37 points.
Yeah, there was a post that went viral on Instagram of Mike Malone, like, just sitting on the bench with his hands up to his face. Like,
dude,
they are getting washed. And the crazy thing is, the Jazz, like, going into the playoffs, people were like, they should get kicked out of the playoffs and they should put the Suns in, because the Jazz have been so ass in the bubble.
The Jazz,
and then they just turned it on.
The Jazz were like 3-5, 2-6 in the bubble ish. I don't remember what their record is, and I don't really care because they're fucking owning the Nuggets. one thing to note is they didn't have Mike Conley for the first 2 games. Bojan Bogdanovic, they haven't had for the entirety of the bubble, and that was the main reason that I thought that the Nuggets were probably going to beat them in 5 or 6 pretty handily. I thought they were going to get handled. I'll just be honest.
That's fair to say.
Not having a closer in Bojan Bogdanovic is a problem, but Donovan Mitchell, who wasn't not a closer, like he wasn't bad, he wasn't like anti-clutch, but Bogdanovic was getting the reins a lot in the last couple minutes of a lot of their regular season close games. And that's fair because that's what he did in Indiana. I think that's kind of what they got him for, is to help Donovan close games because they didn't really have anybody besides Mitchell. Now that he's out, I was like, oh, well, they're fucked. And they're the opposite of fucked because Donovan Mitchell's been putting up like 40 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, Rudy Gobert had like 20-some last night.
Yeah, which he doesn't really do. Like, that's not really his game anyway.
Or not last night. Sorry, 2 nights ago. Well, no. Hold on. Their game was... No, it was last night. Okay. I was looking at the wrong game.
Yeah,
Rudy Gobert... Hold on, I'm pulling up his stats. Rudy Gobert had 24 and 14.
Those are the kind of numbers, if he puts those up consistently, they could win this year.
Yeah.
Like, they could win, period.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he will, so I'm not going to say that, but it's a good sign for their future, I think. The future in Salt Lake City, which was looking pretty dim with some of their chemistry issues, but those have been non-existent in this series. I mean, do you have any other thoughts about this? Like, I think
Jazz in 6.
Ooh, I'm not fully ready to count the Nuggets out because they have, like, by far the best player in this series in Jokic, but he's been awful. So,
bro, again, after seeing how like Mike Malone looked like there was no way to stop the Jazz. He looked like he didn't know what to do. So after seeing that, again, I'll see there will probably be another game where Jokic and Jamal Murray just absolutely carry the Nuggets past the Jazz, but I have the Jazz winning this series now.
Yeah,
because Mike Malone looked lost.
Yeah, I mean, like, what is Bol Bol gonna do for them that is going to make up for 37 points? That's the only guy that they haven't really tried out yet in the playoffs that could maybe help them, but, like, what's he going to do that's going to make up 37 points of difference? Like, is he going to score 16 and prevent 16 by himself, and then there's still a 5-point difference? Like,
yeah, I think the series is going to the Jazz. And, I mean, for all I know, the Nuggets could surprise me. Mike Malone could have seen what happened yesterday and, like, threatened to kill their families if they didn't play better, and then they come out and win the series. But, like, from what we saw, the Jazz are most likely taking the series.
Now, if the Nuggets lose, and if they lose in unceremonious fashion, like I'm talking 5 or 6, what are you doing as the Nuggets GM? Because that is now the 2nd straight year that they've had a top 3 seed and been bounced in the first 2 rounds. What are you doing? Does any of the blame? Where does the blame fall? Does it fall on Jokic?
I don't think there's any blame. This is Jokic's 2nd time really leading a team through the playoffs. Jamal Murray, same thing with him. They just implemented Michael Porter Jr. into the roster, really starting in the bubble. I genuinely think you just get another season under your belt.
I think I agree. I think that if they lose again in like 5 or 6, I think that Nikola Jokic is going to start getting a little bit of choker talk, which is not unfair because Dirk got that for years until he won, and that's another guy who was consistently on high-seeded teams that would lose early. So I don't think that it's an unremovable moniker, but I don't know, dude. This is the And we haven't even talked about the 3 or the 4-5. I think that this is the most open the Western Conference has been in, I would say, the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
There are
basically every team could get upset.
There are 5 teams I could legitimately see in the finals this year.
Yeah.
And yeah. Including the 7 seed. I could see them, if the Mavericks pull this out against the Clippers, I could see them beating everybody in the West with how well they played against the Clippers. Because the other thing is, nobody else in the West has as good of a defense as the Clippers do, besides the Lakers, who have a better defense.
And the thing is, people forget the Mavericks, like, they're a low seed, but they are the best offense in the league, statistically anyway. Like, they are running, I think this is the most efficient offense in history. I think it's a historic offense. I don't know exactly by what parameters, but I remember reading about how this is one of, if not the best, offense in history.
Yeah, it's the kind of offense that you're not surprised when they score 140 points, because you're like, oh, that's just kind of like what they do. And then when the other team scores 130, you're like, that's also what they do with their defense, though. Because just coming to mind, Porzingis is like one of their only competent defenders. And the other thing with the Mavericks is they're a lot deeper than everybody else, really. Like, the Clippers are deep, but if they beat the Clippers, they've now beat the deepest team in the West. The Lakers are not deep.
A 2-man team.
The Rockets are a 3-man team, sometimes 4. And those are the only 2 teams that they're going to run into, probably. Wait. And then the Jazz. The Jazz are down Bogdanović. So, yeah. All right. So, I know you have to go soon. So, let's just get 4-5 out of the way very quickly.
Rockets in 5. I thought if the Thunder could even go 1-1 without Russ, but they've been dominated. Both games, it hasn't even been close.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Like, I thought that the Thunder were going to be significantly better against the Rockets, and they're just not.
Exactly. Because the thing is, I think I told you this before. I had really high hopes for this Thunder team.
You did.
Coming into the playoffs, I thought they had the potential to make the conference finals, and they're about to get swept in the first round.
I was shocked because I didn't realize that you believed in them that much. I thought you were just saying that they could win in the first round.
I think it's a little biased because Chris Paul's my second favorite player of all time.
Yeah,
but
a little.
I genuinely thought this because, they played so well in the regular season.
Yeah, they really did, and it might just be like James Harden is so far ahead of the second best player in the series that's playing right now that James Harden's a top 5 player. Chris Paul's like, top 15, top 10 this year, but it's a case of the best player in the series being better than the other team's entire team, and then it just doesn't matter from there. And the Rockets are also, Austin Rivers is playing really well, which is a sentence that I have never said before and will probably never say again. He's been crucial for them. He's been dropping 20, 40, sometimes 15, 30. He's been giving them his best stuff. Which, it's still Austin Rivers, but it's Austin Rivers' best stuff.
Yeah, he's been pretty important to that team, especially with Russ not playing.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, is that all we got?
Anything else? I don't think we have anything else.
I do not think so.
All right. That is it for this episode. Drop a like, subscribe, follow the Twitter, linked in the description. Follow our individual YouTube channels, also linked in the description. Aditya?
I don't have anything else to add now.
Okay. All right, bye.
Thanks for watching.